let's turn our attention from football to basketball. Big 12 is rounding out its regular season. Only one more game left for all the teams out there, and then the Big 12 conference tournament starts. And Cedric, big news down in your neck of the woods. Shaka Smart has the Longhorns on the meteoric rise. I don't even know how to describe what's happening down there. He went from he's going to get fired to he's going to make the NCAA tournament. Cedric, this has been a huge turnaround.
I have no idea what's going on over there, Jen. I fancy myself as someone that knows basketball, but to watch this team go from 4-8, lose by 38 in Morgantown, lose by 29 in Ames, and then all of a sudden you win at Tech, you win at OU. I don't know what's going on. I think that it is one of the best coaching jobs of his tenure. It is the absolute best coaching job of his tenure. Jen, they're down to 7 healthy players, and those guys are ride or die. If they get in foul trouble, the Shaka might have to play. Who knows? I don't know. But I'm telling you, I've never seen anything like it. They were left for dead at 4-8 in the Big 12. And now Joey Brackett's had them in at last 4 in, and now I know Ken Palm has them in the tournament. So the Texas Longhorns are alive and almost well. If they beat Oklahoma State at home Saturday afternoon, they're going to be in the tournament and probably not in a play-in game. A real tournament first-round game. Never would have thought that in a million years just 3 weeks ago.
No doubt. And if they beat Oklahoma State in Austin on Saturday, they'll have 10 wins in the Big 12, solidly over that 500 mark, and they'll also get their 20th win. So to me, if you're talking about a team that's over 500 in the league, 20 games, has gotten to 20 games overall in the win-loss record, I think that's an NCAA tournament team. And, it is. I didn't think that this would be a part of our conversation talking about the Big 12 heading into the NCAA tournament at all. It seemed like some of the same issues kept coming up when it came to the Longhorns. Looked like a really talented team, had a lot of players that you thought, man, coming out of high school or, whatever point you thought, this is going to be a good team. They've got a lot of talent. Couldn't ever seem to really put it together. Now they've put it together, and they're not just winning, games that maybe by a wide margin. They won that one at Oklahoma the other night on a last-second three-pointer after a couple missed free throws by Oklahoma. Took advantage of that opportunity, went on a bank three-pointer, and again improved their chances of making the tournament. Cedric, I think now as you look at the Big 12, obviously Kansas and Baylor at the top are into the NCAA tournament. Then you've got Texas and Texas Tech. Same league record right now, both likely to be in. Then Oklahoma and West Virginia, who, according to most of the bracketologists, both of those teams are likely in. So it looks like probably 6, at least 5, I would think, but 6 of the 10 are looking decently strong heading to the NCAA tournament.
I think I'd be surprised if 6 got in, though. I think someone's going to get their feelings hurt, Jen. If Texas wins Saturday, they're 20-11. They're 6 straight wins. They're a hot team, and the committee likes hot teams. But I think that West Virginia probably needs to win its last game to feel good about itself because they've been trending downward.
Yeah.
They did get a win at Iowa State. Huggy Bear is not happy with the offensive production. He looked like somebody ran over his dog after Texas beat him here in Austin a couple of weeks ago. So I think that Texas Tech has had some problems lately.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting on this next batch of tournament bracketology from Joey Brackett's. That the one that I saw, Jen, we both looked at before the show, looked a little outdated. So I'm looking for a new bracket because I don't know that there's going to be 6 Big 12 teams. I do know that 5 are going to show up, and I'm assuming that either Baylor or Kansas wins the conference tournament.
Yeah.
Because if someone else wins the conference tournament, that's a whole new can of worms. So I think that there's going to be 5, but I don't know about 6. I really think the Sooners had a great chance to end Texas at Lloyd Noble, and they didn't. Christian Doolittle and who's the big kid marketing? What's the big dude's name? The big center. They combined to miss 3 out of 4 free throws in the last 30 seconds and allowed Matt Coleman to become a hero. So to me, that kept Texas breathing. Shaka Smart's one of the biggest stories in all of college football, basketball now, because he has resurrected his program at the witching hour. I'm telling you, he was in the executioner's chair, and the governor just called in. Old Sparky was ready to go, Jen, and the phone just rang, and Shaka has gotten himself a stay of execution, and good for him.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. I think Texas is in. I mean, unless they just completely implode their last game at home against Oklahoma State, if they lose that, and then let's say they go to Kansas City and lose again, okay, maybe we're talking about something different. But that's not their trajectory right now. They're on the upswing. You know, to me, Texas Tech has lost 3 in a row. They lost at Baylor, obviously a very close game, a game they could have won, but they didn't. West Virginia has had that downward trend. I think Oklahoma has got to go to TCU and win on Saturday. And as people know, sometimes teams go to TCU and they lose. I mean, Baylor went there and changed the possible outcome of who's going to win this league again. Looks like it's going to be a Kansas again. So, TCU, not a foregone conclusion to win there, but I think Oklahoma has to. And then I think they almost have to go to Kansas City and win another game just to get those insurance wins. Maybe it's not 6, Cedric, but anymore, with that expansion of the NCAA tournament, it feels more and more like teams that some years you'd be like, I don't know if they belong in. Seems like more and more that those type of teams are in those playing games, are in those last at-large spots. Maybe I'm wrong, but I wouldn't be totally shocked at 6, but if it's only 5, I'm not going to be surprised by that either, I don't think.
I won't be, and 6 is fine, but a 5 seems more realistic to me. And just because a team has been in the tournament for the last 3 weeks doesn't mean that they're going to get in, because there's still business to be taken care of. And you outline those games well. TCU nearly beat Kansas this week, and they had Kansas down in the second half. TCU's a tough out. And if the Sooners go in there and lay an egg, I'm telling you right now, Jen, I don't think Oklahoma gets in. I just do not. If they go in there and lose to TCU, I think they don't get in the tournament. And I think there will be 5 teams instead of 6. If you're asking me the odd team out right now, it might be Texas Tech. And I don't know how much Texas Tech has a great RPI, but I don't know how much the committee considers them as being a national runner-up last year. If that gives them any stroke, I'm not sure. But Texas Tech has lost 3 in a row, and if they go in and lose again this last game, and then lose in the first round of the tournament, if they drop to number 5 in the Big 12 and they have to play that first game of the tournament and lose, they could be on the outside looking in. I don't think the Big 12 is great this year. I think the Big 12 is top heavy with those 2 really, really good teams, and everybody else is in a group together. So if one of these teams continues to slide, I don't think the committee gives the conference the benefit of the doubt and brings in 6 teams. I think 5 sounds a lot more feasible than 6.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. I think it could happen that way. But, this league feels a little bit like the whole national picture in college basketball this year. You've got a couple of, I don't know, maybe half a dozen top teams that you could say, you know what, I could see them winning a national championship. But there's a lot of sort of middle ground teams in there, and I feel like the Big 12 is kind of a reflection of that. And Cedric, it's interesting to think about in a year when the Big 12 maybe doesn't have top to bottom strength like some years we've seen. Those 2 teams at the top are so good. This may be the year we see another Big 12 team win a national championship. I could see either Baylor or Kansas potentially being that one shining moment team on a Monday night coming up here in a few weeks. I feel like they have got some things, both of them going for them, that could be national championship caliber. And Big 12 was really close last year with Texas Tech. Feels like it might happen again with one of these 2 teams. Cedric, I don't know if you agree with that, but I could definitely see one of these two at the top being an NCAA champion at the end of this whole thing?
You know, if I had to pick one, I would go with Baylor because they just seem more well-rounded, inside, outside, better outside shooting. Kansas is not a good outside shooting team. And after they beat Texas earlier this season in Austin, Bill Self told us, he said, our outside shooting is going to catch up to us eventually. We don't make enough shots from three, and it's a make or miss business. So he says that, but with both of us having been around Bill Self, there's a self-deprecating quality to him where he's, I don't know if it's sandbagging, but he never gives his team the full credit that it deserves. Devin Dotson is one hell of a point guard. He's an All-American candidate. Udoka Azubuike is an All-American candidate at center. So you've got two top 10 players on your team. And if you can just scrape together 2 or 3 threes on top of that, you could be in the Final Four. I think you're right, Jen. One of these two teams, I will have one of these two teams in my Final Four bracket. Probably not both, but I think the door is definitely open for the Big 12 to win a national championship.
I'm hopeful that to reflect back on what we started the show with, I'm hopeful that if either of those teams are in the Final Four, I just hope there are people in the stands to watch those games happen.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah, right.
We'll see if either of those teams make the Final Four, and if there's people there, we'll definitely be talking about that in the coming weeks. So be sure to stay with the Writer's Block. We'll see you next week.